right, guys. So, welcome back to my channel. I am still very much so pregnant. It's been about a week between my first video and this video. So, since I am still pregnant, we are going to talk about pregnant things because that's what's currently going on in my life. So, if you watched the last video, you may or may not remember that I mentioned towards the end that I plan on doing a natural birth. And that can be like kind of controversial, or for some people, other people think of it as a scary thing. But I do kind of feel like that I've been seeing more and more that women are trying to go that route, whether it's here in the US or in other countries. I know here in the US it's not as common just because, big pharma companies and just our whole healthcare system really pushes OBs and, using all the different drugs to induce and just all the things. Personally, I think it's a lot of scare tactics that they use, but I'm not going to talk about all that. I am talking about why I specifically have chosen to go what I like to call more of an alternative maternity healthcare route, which in the US it's just not as popular. I am using a midwife instead of an OB. I am going to a birthing center instead of going to a hospital, just because for several different reasons. Honestly, it started so long ago for me, the reason why I chose to go this route. So I remember as young as like the age of 16 telling my mom, like, hey mom, I want to do natural birth. And she was like, you know what? If anybody can do it, you can do it. So glad that she had that faith in me. And yeah, part of that being because, when she first described to me what epidural was, I was like, no, thank you. I by no means have any kind of what do you call it, fear of needles. Like, I have tattoos. When I get my blood drawn or when I get shots, like, I'm really not the squirmish type when it comes to that kind of stuff. But just something about the idea about a needle going into your back just really doesn't do it for me. So from the moment I first learned exactly what an epidural is and kind of like what it entails, for me, I just kind of immediately was like, no, thank you. And as I got older and just started doing my own research, even prior to me becoming pregnant, specifically when it comes to the African American community, we as women, African American women, just don't tend to be taken serious. When it comes to hospitals, doctors don't listen to us as much. They tend to think that we just want the drugs, or that we're being dramatic for whatever reason. We just don't get taken as serious when it comes to not even just maternity care, but healthcare in general. So when I saw those statistics of just like how high of a rate of African American women die when it comes to giving birth, yeah, the numbers don't look hot. And it was just another really great reason for me personally to decide that, you know what, I don't think I want to go the hospital route. I don't want to go the traditional route. I want to create my own atmosphere, where I feel safe, where I feel heard, where I feel like the people who are giving me care are really listening to me, and where I can advocate for myself, and that will be taken into consideration and not just dismissed. So I would say, yeah, that's why I decided to go this route. Now, getting finding a midwife was very hard because, yeah, America just doesn't really believe in the whole midwife thing. They don't believe in the whole doing things naturally at all. Like, now, if you go into other countries, it's more widely accepted. You can find more midwives in other countries, and it's not considered like taboo or anything like that. So as I started my search for a midwife and for a birthing center, I realized very quickly how hard that was going to be. Now, a birthing center, like hospitals, they're starting to get smart now where they are rebranding themselves, their labor and delivery floors, as birthing centers. But a true birthing center is a freestanding facility that is separate from a hospital. It is not connected to a hospital. It's not inside of a hospital. They are a freestanding facility that only has midwives. Now, mind you, if you're looking into, going that route, you do have to be what they consider low risk pregnancy. So if you have any kind of complications like preeclampsia or high blood pressure, different things like that, then you're less likely to be able to go this route. Fortunately for me, I am considered low risk, so I was able to move forward when it came to getting a midwife. But yeah, I've kind of mentioned before, me and my husband, we moved from Hawaii to the East Coast. And so the other thing that I found really interesting was that in moving from Hawaii to the East Coast, the options for midwives and birthing centers became extremely, extremely slim. We live in the DMV area, and so the area that I live in, there's only one birthing center that is within driving range of where we live, and that's takes us like an hour to get there. But because I am very sure about the experience that I personally want, I just decided that, hey, that's what I'm going to have to do, drive an hour. Now, there is one other birthing center, but it's an even further drive, and I'm just, not doing that, obviously. So, not a lot of options is what I found when it comes to a true birthing center experience. And the other thing is that your healthcare, at least my healthcare, or not healthcare, my insurance, they don't really like to pay for birthing centers and midwives. I don't know if that's because they are afraid of things going wrong. I don't know, because to be quite honest, lots and lots of things can go wrong in the hospital as well. But that's another thing that I have found is that my insurance in particular, they are not really a big fan of paying for a birthing center to give birth. But once again, I have not let that stop me. I've been able to work out a plan with my birthing center where my insurance does cover some things and other things it does not. So I've worked out a situation with my birthing center in order for me to get the care that I want. Another thing that I highly, highly recommend, and that I feel like more and more women are starting to do, is getting a doula. So, I mean, obviously I have my husband as my support person and he's amazing, but let's be honest, this is my and his first time having a child. We don't know what the heck we're doing, like, at all. You can read all the books in the world, you can watch all the videos. No, we don't know what we're doing. Oh, excuse me. It's that freaking nasal congestion I told you guys about. Anyways, so yeah, we have no clue what we're doing. And because I lost my mother 4 years ago, not having her there to be with me in the room to help, like kind of coach me through things, I felt it very, very strongly that I wanted to have a doula. And honestly, even if my mom was still here, I would probably still hire a doula, just because like this is what they do. Their whole job is to be a support person, another support person in the room, someone who can help advocate for you, someone who, depending on what your birth plan is, they're going to make sure that you stick to your birth plan, or if you need to pivot, they're there to give you your options and help you to think through what it is that you may need to pivot to. And these are all things, honestly, that I think is extremely helpful, because once again, me and my husband, we have no clue what we are doing. So having that extra help, that expertise, I felt was really, really important. So I am doing my birth at a birthing center with a midwife and a doula. And honestly, as I've gone through this pregnancy and as I have taken childbirth classes and just learned more about the whole process, whether it comes to doing it with a midwife or OB, doing it in a hospital or a birthing center, I just became more and more sure of my decision to choose a birthing center experience. Now, I am not the type of person to judge anyone for what they decide to do. Ladies, it's your body, whatever you are comfortable with. Okay. So if a hospital birth is what you are comfortable with, go for it. If it's birthing center, go for it. If it's doing it at home, go for it, and more power to you, girl, because the whole at home birth thing is something that I still wasn't exactly comfortable with. For me, the birthing center was like the perfect medium between the home birth and the hospital. But yeah, I don't judge people for what it is that they choose to do. It's your choice. Ultimately, it's what you are comfortable with. And I highly recommend that if you have a partner, talking it over with them and making sure that they are 100% on board with what it is that you have chosen to do, because that's so important. I told my husband from the beginning, like years prior to us getting pregnant, I let him know, like, hey, this is what I want for us and for myself when it comes time for us to have a baby. Like, I want a birthing center experience. I want a midwife. I do not want to be in a hospital. And he was okay with that, like he heard me out. He listened to why I wanted to do my birth this way. And he's been 100% on board. So I do highly recommend that you make sure that you talk to your partner, because your partner needs to also be comfortable with what it is that you want to do. Because if they're not, then it's just not good. You don't want somebody in the room who is doubting what you have chosen, because more than likely you're going to feel that doubt. You're going to feel that uncertainty, and it won't be good for the pregnancy or the birthing experience in itself. So make sure your partner's on board. But yeah, I just think that do your research, don't just assume or just go with whatever is the tradition of, your birth care or your birthing experience. If you have ever thought about doing something different outside of the hospital, then I highly encourage you to look into it. Like, what are your reasons for wanting to do an alternative maternity care? Like I said, for me, it was something that I was always interested in from the time I was a teenager. Also, once again, because of just because of the African American rates of mortality when it comes to maternity care in hospitals. It's just honestly quite sad. Also, for me, some of my grief experience is mixed in with that. The last time that I was really kind of in hospitals was when my mother was sick, and so there is some bad connotation for me personally when it comes to hospitals. Mind you, it's a totally, obviously different experience of someone being sick versus you going in to give labor. But just for me personally, that really stuck out with me. Just my mom's whole cancer journey, being in the hospital, and then also her passing in the hospital just left a bad taste in my mouth when it comes to being in hospitals. And so for me, that was another more recent reason why I decided I did not want to be in the hospital. Now, none of this means that I have not had to go to hospitals or that I haven't seen OBs during this experience. If you remember, like I said, I found out maybe about a couple of weeks before we moved from Hawaii that I was pregnant. So, in order for us to get a checkup before we left Hawaii, the easiest thing was to go to an OB. So my first experience with my pregnancy was with OBs. So I saw an OB in Hawaii to confirm the pregnancy. I also had a few other visits with OBs during the transition from Hawaii to the East Coast, because we did not immediately move straight to the East Coast. My husband had some military training that he needed to do for a couple of months, and so I went back home with my family in the South. And once again, the easiest and quickest thing for me to do was to just see OBs so that I could keep up with my checkups. And honestly, it was a fine enough experience. It was just me, going in for simple checkups, checking the heartbeat, making sure I was on track and that there wasn't anything weird that may have come up with any of my tests or anything like that. But the whole time I was seeing these OBs, I knew that my end goal was to be with a midwife and at a birthing center once we moved to the East Coast and got settled. So, and then also for me personally, I experienced a breached baby. My baby girl was breached, and she was being very stubborn, did not want to turn. Once I hit 36 weeks, I believe, my midwives had me doing different exercises and different positions, like kind of like yoga positions and stuff, to try to encourage her to flip. Baby girl was being extremely, extremely stubborn and was not moving. She was comfortable where she was at. She wasn't moving. So something that was brought up was to do a procedure called ECV. Go and look that up because I do not know what it stands for. But basically it's where an OB or two OBs, they manually move your baby. So there's kind of like a push and tug on your tummy as they move the baby to flip them from breech to head down. Now, midwives, as far as I know, midwives, they do not do this. And so my midwives sent me to an OB that they trusted and that they have experience with to do the procedure. And for me, I decided to do that because my goal is to have a natural birth. If your baby is breech, more than likely that means that you're going to get a cesarean. That is something that I am trying to avoid and want to avoid at all costs. And so when I did the things at home that my midwives were telling me to do and they weren't working, that is when we then resorted to the ECV. And honestly, it went very, very well. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody's experience goes well, but for me personally, it went well, and I do recommend it for those who are, once again, low risk pregnancy. And if you are trying to do a natural birth, if your baby just so happens to be breached as you get closer and closer to your due date, then the ECV may be something you want to consider. If your OB or midwife has not mentioned this to you, then that's something that you can maybe ask them about, because you could possibly be a good candidate for it. But I just love my midwives and the whole midwife experience so much, because they really are obviously on board with a natural birth. That's the whole point of them. That's what they do. And so they are going to do everything that they can to help you achieve that. And so, when the ECV was first brought up to me, I was a little nervous, but I was also open to that suggestion, because hey, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I've been wanting to do since I was 16 years old. I'm not going to just give up and let that go because baby girl decided she wanted to be stubborn. So yeah, it's something that I think that more and more women should look into, of just the type of maternity care that you would like. Once again, like I said, it's your choice. If you are more comfortable with going to the hospital, do that. If you want to be induced, do that. Unfortunately, every woman can't experience a low risk birth. So for some women, natural birth is just not possible for whatever medical reasons. And the most important thing that I have to remind myself of, and that some of my other mummy friends have had to remind me of, is that you are healthy, your child is healthy, and welcoming he or she into the world. And however that looks, whether it's natural, whether it's being induced, whether it's having a cesarean, however that looks, that's what you should go with. So, we can have like the best laid out plans, but sometimes things happen, and so you have to pivot. That's another thing. Plan A, natural birth all the way, but we do also have plan B and C for if things change, if something goes wrong. Like, I'm a little bit of a control freak, so I like to plan things as much as possible, even knowing that maybe the plans aren't going to go exactly the way that I want them to. But it's good to have your plans. So yeah, I just want to come on here and share kind of like my reasons for why I am choosing the natural birth route. Now we'll see how it goes. I am I am going to try to do a water birth. We will see how that goes. I've heard really great things about it. So when I'm in the heat of the moment, we will see if water birth is what ends up working out or not. But I am excited, looking forward to it. I'm really, really hoping that baby girl comes within the next week, because I am tired and ready for her to be here. I'm ready to hold her and to smell her baby smell. And I know I'm going to be like even more tired when she gets here, but in a weird way, I'm looking forward to it. And also, I'm just looking forward to getting my body back. So yeah, if you guys have any questions just about my experience so far, please feel free to comment, and I will try to answer. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys again soon. Bye.